you're comfortable using too. I mean, I truly believe that. I'm very open-minded when it comes to that stuff. I don't think one is truly better than another. Some might have different properties, but honestly, I think whatever you're comfortable with and whatever your intention is, and I mean, we all know it's about clarity of intention too.
I think this is funny. In the chat room, they said, was that bay leaves, or Bailey's? And because she was saying they could use a little of both.
Yeah, no kidding. That'd be all right. Well, you know, it's funny. It's funny that you should mention that because not very long ago, I had a conversation with someone about, people going on a paranormal investigation and either having had a drink beforehand or imbibing in a different way. And as you know, in Canada here, in Ontario anyway, pot is now legal. So it was quite an interesting conversation. And I mean, we both agreed that no, this is not something that we should ever do. So no drinking, no drugs, no nothing on an investigation. You have to be 100% clear. However, after the investigation, Bailey's could possibly work.
Yeah. Well, you want to have your spirits
Yes.
at the investigation, and then later on you can have your spirits
Yes.
later at the hotel or at home or wherever. So
Exactly.
you got to keep them spirits separated. Ones in the bottle are not meant to be with the ones that aren't in the bottle.
No, no, no.
So,
But for clarification, it's bay leaves. Yes.
as in the kind that grows on a tree.
Exactly.
So Wendy's wondering if twining some fresh rosemary would help with keeping away the bad and negative energies away. Do you know anything about that?
I actually have heard that rosemary does help in some clearing, but I think with rosemary, there's something specific with rosemary, and I'm trying to remember what that is. I think that has something to do. I think it has something to do with children. I read that recently. So if you have a child spirit, that rosemary actually aids in not only the removal or moving on of, but also the calming of the child spirit. Because sometimes people do report that child spirits can be very either trepidatious or untrusting or frightened, and that can actually aid them to move on and calm them down.
I can see that. I mean, because children are told don't trust strangers.
Yep. Yep.
That's one thing. And second, they may not know who you are and why you're telling them to do this.
Yes.
And there's a million reasons why a child may not want to pass on.
Exactly.
And some of it could be because of their immaturity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, Dara, that wood that I got you for Christmas was Palo Alto. So, she just asked that. Let's see. I'm making sure I didn't miss any. Did you ask about her early days? What got you started in this field? Brenda asks.
I had paranormal experiences as a child, a really young child, at the family cottage in the Laurentians in Quebec. And that kind of sparked my interest because when I was about, 5 or 6, going to grade 1, and when you talk to your little friends about, oh yeah, I see things at my cottage, either I would be laughed at or others would pull me aside and say, yeah, I see them too. And that kind of fueled my interest. So I started to read everything I could about it. And then after a few years and getting older, going to high school, talking about it, reading about it still, I was still interested in it. I learned a lot about it, and people would come to me and ask me questions, and I was able to answer them. And then that kind of sparked that desire to know even more about the paranormal. And that's sort of how I got started in the field. I mean, in the 70s, people didn't do this. I mean, when you said, yeah, I help people with their ghosts and their hauntings, they totally thought I was crazy.
Oh, yeah. And on that crazy note, we're onto our 3-minute break already. So this goes fast. Any more questions in the chat? Any more questions, please add them in the chat. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son, what are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
So, welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. My guest tonight is Lynda Quirino. We have one more break after this, so you guys get those questions asked, and I'll get them answered. And talking about questions, I have a question from Robin in the Spreaker chat, and he asks, how important is it to have knowledge of the occult when working in the paranormal field?
I like that question. You know what? I think it's really important to have knowledge about very many things, and the occult is one of them. Knowing about occult practices, knowing about the history of the occult, that's incredibly important, because when we're dealing with paranormal issues, we're dealing with sort of a multifaceted thing. There's so many attitudes about it, so much history about it, and people that practice different things. So I think off of the radio show, we were talking about the importance of understanding that when you go in to help somebody, they're not always going to be a particular religion that you're acquainted with or a particular practice that you're acquainted with. So You need to have a diverse knowledge about so many different things. People who are acquainted with the occult will understand some of the rituals that maybe you're getting into. You're also going to understand a little bit more about things that are more esoteric as opposed to things that are maybe more religious. So I think it's a really important thing that you read about it. And I've always said, read as much as you can, watch as much as you can, read the good, the bad, and the ugly, and watch the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you're going to really learn a lot. Education is about immersing yourself in everything. So, good question, Robin. Awesome.
So that was the follow-up question to that to me would be talking about the occult.
Mm.
When you've done a paranormal investigation or you've had to speak on the show about something that was occult, what was the strangest thing you've had to speak about related to that?
Oh my.
Or what would be the most strangest thing to a layman that's not involved in the occult? That would be more of it, because if somebody's involved in the occult, nothing's strange.
True.
But to the layman, a lot of the occult practices are very strange and just way out there in left field.
Yeah, there's a lot that's out there in left field to, the common person. And it's so true. I mean, for instance, one of the cases that I worked on a long time ago, I'm going to say maybe mid-'80s, dealt with a person who bought a home and realized that one particular room in the house was, let's say, active. That's how we would describe it. But she would describe it as, it was colder in there. I didn't like the feeling in there. I had a real problem. Anybody who stayed in that room didn't like it. So when I had gone in to take a look at it and interviewed some of the former owners of the house, one of them in particular was somebody who dabbled in what he called gray witchcraft. And that was his room. And he said that what he did was he befriended an entity that he never got rid of. In other words, he befriended him, he trapped him with a ritual in that particular bedroom and was enjoying watching other people move in and out of the house.
Yeah, that's, wow.
I know, right? So when I went in, and of course I knew a little bit about this, I looked up, rituals of imprisonment and what those meant, and if there were any kind of occult practices that dealt with this kind of thing. And indeed, there were. So, what do you do in that case as a paranormal investigator? What do you do? Who do you bring in to deal with this? Is there anybody that you can bring in to deal with this? Now, the funniest thing is the people that owned the home at the time, they were Catholic, which I know a lot about because I was raised in a Catholic house, and they wanted nothing to do with bringing anybody in who was even remotely connected with the occult, because that was from Satan and they didn't want that, So, you have to tread lightly. So I said, okay, well, let's figure this out. I called the local priest, sat down with him. He kind of looked at me like I was crazy, but, was open-minded to the whole thing. And he himself read up on some of the rituals that were associated with that kind of activity, and went in, blessed the room, asked whatever it was to leave, sprinkled holy water there, and you know what? To my knowledge, whatever he did, however he approached the situation, seemed to dissipate whatever it was that was there. But I found it truly fascinating that the people who were living there had no idea about anything, any of the former owners. They had no clue what they had done or what they were interested in. And, you know, it's weird because most people don't want to know.